Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and while I was doing the trick-or-treating thing with my 10-year-old last night, all of a sudden it came across that Coinbase had filed an amicus brief in the Ripple case, and I was getting phone calls. And let me tell you what, folks, we've gone in the last year and a half, 2 years, we've gone from knowing that there was a one big huge lie that was being perpetuated across all of crypto. I had watched it for years, this Bitcoin Ethereum lie, the lie being that somehow these two things were superior to all else, and that they were just a juggernaut, but because they were just so advanced. And I knew that it was a lie. I knew that it was just a marketing machine that was behind it. And what I didn't know, and we discovered over the last 2 years, was that ETHgate was a real thing. And the same people that were perpetuating the lie that Bitcoin and Ethereum were somehow superior were also trying to get a regulatory free pass for those two, and to close the door on everything else. And literally, while I'm trick-or-treating last night, I finally saw that we kicked their butts, okay? Because that's what that Coinbase thing represented to me. Now, before we get going, it's important that you understand. Look, in the last 3 months, I've bought Ripple equity and I've bought XRP. I'm buying my Ripple equity on Link2, who is one of my sponsors, link in the top of the description. And I'm buying my XRP on Uphold, who's also one of my sponsors, and the link's in the top of the description. You can click on either one of those links and you can tell them DAI sent you. Yesterday, David Schwartz tweets this, because this is also going on. Thanks to the collective effort of the XRP Ledger community and RippleX dev engineers, XLS-20 is now enabled on the XRP Ledger mainnet, and a few NFTs have already been minted. Tokenization is not new to the XRP Ledger, but it presents a key milestone for developers and creators to tokenize any asset and build innovative Web3 projects with utility. The new standard introduces native NFTs on the XRP Ledger to represent unique assets, along with efficient, secure operations to enumerate, transfer, and hold such tokens. And then I wanted to show you, this website is that's onxrp.com. I met the guy that created this when I was out in Vegas at the Apex Summit. Here's a Gary Gensler NFT created on the XRP Ledger. XLS-20 right there. This is a Gary Gensler NFT. I wouldn't wipe my butt with this NFT, but somebody may want it. All right. So moving along, this really pissed me off, because in the midst, look, it wasn't just Coinbase the last 24 hours. There's like 3 or 4 people, and I'll show some of them to you here in a sec, that filed there's like 3 or 4 amicus briefs. And right in the midst of Coinbase filing its amicus brief is when Gary Gensler tweeted this. Happy 14th, like he's being a little wormy smart aleck, Happy 14th birthday to Satoshi Nakamoto white paper. It's led to innovation in crypto asset investing. Let's make sure, as crypto enters its 15th year, that investors get proper protection. So that just pissed me off. What a worm. I said, think about how bad of a person you have to be to tweet something like this, knowing you've put over 75,000 XRP holders through hell for years while lying and claiming you want to protect them. There's a special place for people like this, and I really do believe that. Just an awful person. It's one thing to have done this, but to sit there and put out these tweets, these little smarmy tweets, Coinbase has filed a request to file an amicus brief in support of Ripple's fair notice defense. But it wasn't just Coinbase, folks. Now, here's the thing you've got to understand. The Coinbase, these guys are at the very center of ETHgate. Half the people involved. Chris Dixon from Andreessen Horowitz was on their board. Katie Hawn was on their board. Half of these SEC guys that were involved in all this are involved one way or another. This is huge. And then CoinDesk is even covering it. That's huge too. Let me go back and look at one thing. Okay. CoinDesk is covering it. Crypto exchange. These guys have ignored ETHgate all along, folks. Crypto exchange Coinbase has asked a federal court for permission to join Ripple in the SEC's case against the company, saying the SEC threatens the broader crypto industry through its inconsistency. And then there was this from Wrath of Kahneman. Quick summary: Coinbase makes the case that the SEC has failed to give the crypto world any notice at all, that facts are in dispute. Interesting, there's no mention of their own inquiries regarding XRP, but they had to go hard on the constitutional issues of fair notice and the SEC's failure. And then we have Val Hill Capital has requested permission. This is Jimmy Valley. Permission to file an amicus brief in support of Ripple's defendants. I didn't even know Jimmy Valley was doing one. And then we have this. The Crypto Council for Innovation has requested permission to file an amicus brief. I mean, this is like everything's getting stacked up here, folks. Now, I did see before we go any further, I did see somebody say where this is going to now open the door for the SEC to say they need more time and all of this kind of stuff. So that's one of the negative parts of this. But it's still good that all these people are piling in now. This is the Crypto Council, which I had never heard of. But we went, Eleanor Terrett said, irony at its finest. Jay Clayton and Bill Hinman are now inadvertently supporting Ripple through their associations with Electric Capital and A16Z, which are both members of the Crypto Council. CCI thus represents the views of industry veterans. Look who's in this Crypto Council. Andreessen Horowitz, Gemini. These guys hate Ripple, folks. Fidelity. Remember, these guys never, ever have mentioned listing XRP on their platform. I don't know where FTX stands, but there's Coinbase, Block, Paradigm, Ribbit Capital. So let me make a point here. You know what this says to me, what Eleanor Terrett's saying down here about Jay Clayton and Bill Hinman are inadvertently supporting this? One thing that has become very clear to me is that Gary Gensler has thrown Bill Hinman and Jay Clayton overboard, because if you really pay attention to what's been going on, folks, the emails have now been turned over. So it almost gives the appearance that Gary Gensler doesn't care if he's throwing all those people under the bus, and now all of a sudden all of them are joining in. You have to wonder. Because I remember, I'll never forget it, there was a clip when Gary Gensler was at MIT and he made a reference to the Ethereum, the decentralized mantra that had been come up with by the Bill Hinman speech and all of that. And he made a comment one time that he didn't know if it was going to work. And when I heard that, knowing how slimy Gary Gensler is, when I heard that, my first thought was, I wonder if this guy made sure that he separated himself enough, just enough from what they were doing so that he could fall on either side. If it ended up working, he could say, yeah, I was a part of those discussions. Or if it didn't work and if ETHgate got discovered, he could throw them all under the bus and say, I wasn't involved in that. This is the kind of guy you're dealing with here. I know people, folks. This guy is not a good one. All right. So what I said is if we don't put the grand conspiracy ETHgate together, none of this happens. They're piling in because they're scared Gary goes after ETH next. All we ever wanted was a level playing field. And if they had just taken their free pass and gone home, none of this would have happened, folks. They had to sue Ripple too. They can thank Bill Hinman for that. My understanding is he's the one that came back and wanted to make sure that lawsuit went through. So Amicus now, Chamber of Digital Commerce, iRemit, TapJet, Spin the Bits, ICANN, Blockchain Association, John Deaton, Coinbase, Crypto Council for Innovation, Valhill Capital. Gary, are you there? SEC, are you counting? Jeremy Hogan, why is it important that numerous amicus briefs have been filed in the Ripple case? An AB is called a friend of the court, and historically ABs have been filed only in appellate top-level courts where difficult issues are being resolved. As far as I know, the record number of ABs is 78. Those were filed in an abortion case in the 80s that made its way to the Supreme Court. That being said, is it normal to see numerous ABs at a trial-level case? Definitely not. The judge's liberal allowance of amicus briefs in this trial-level case would seem to suggest that she understands that the issues involved are complicated, novel, and that the ruling will affect a large group of people and or industry, and I think that's a good thing. And I said, when is Consensus and JP Morgan going to file amicus briefs in the SEC versus Ripple? Joseph Lubin should be wanting to file them. He's for the whole industry, right? I couldn't resist this tweet right here, folks. This guy says, I mean, there has been such a concerted effort, and I'm not saying this guy's lying, but this whole industry has been one big lie, this Bitcoin Ethereum lie. And I have never been willing to back off of the fact that we're going to call it out. It's BS and always has been BS. And this guy's continuing the BS. He says, last night I was thinking about how every idea in crypto is a derivative of something on Ethereum or its predecessor, Bitcoin. Has there ever been a unique idea on a different chain? I can't think of any. And I told him, I said, this might sting for a second. This is a brief history of blockchain smart contracts. I'll draw your attention to this. Later in 2013, this is Stefan Thomas from Ripple, who used to be at Ripple, that's talking. Later in 2013, a young Bitcoin developer crashed on my couch for a couple of weeks while visiting San Francisco. In the afternoon, he would come to the Ripple office and join our discussions about smart contracts. His name was Vitalik Buterin, and these conversations led him to incorporate Ripple's key value data structure into Ethereum. And that is the fact, Jack. XRP was there long before Ethereum, and that look, you're not going to lie about history on this channel, folks. Not here. And then I think it's very important as this all unfolds that we expose all of the media people that have been complicit in trying to keep all of this covered up. Even Coinbase has filed an amicus brief in SEC versus Ripple, and it's still not considered news by these pretend journalists. CNBC, Becky Quick, Andrew Ross Sorkin, Joe Kernan at Squawk Box itself, Jim Cramer, Julia Chatterley, CNN Business, CNN International, where she is. If they're suppressing, if they've worked this hard to suppress ETHgate and what it is, what else are these pretend journalists suppressing for the government and other people? That's my question. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that that's the question. If these people are helping to suppress this, however, how many other thousands of things are they helping? How many other lies are they keeping going to show their audience? How many lies, folks? Thanks for listening.